We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Good morning. Good morning. You are watching the Couples Academy Show. My name is Lakeisha Hines, and I have with me
Roland Bradley.
Mr. Roland Bradley, my brother. How are you feeling this morning, sir?
I'm doing excellent, Miss Lakeisha. How are you?
Man, I'm doing awesome. You know what? Because we are one day away from one of the most blessed days of the week. Next to Sunday.
Right.
Next to Sunday. Friday. So I'm feeling real good. I'm feeling super good today. You guys, Hassani and Danielle, are celebrating their 20th wedding anniversary. Is that not amazing? We love you guys, and we hope that you are having the time of your lives. They out in Vegas, y'all, doing it big. We miss them, but we're so happy that they're having this opportunity to share that love and just, man, 20 years, Roland. I'm trying to get there. Roland. 20 years, I'm trying to get there.
Hey, listen, it will come faster than you think. So Enjoy it. They say time flies when you're having fun. So enjoy every minute of it.
I'm doing my best. To make it do what it do. All right, you guys. So we're continuing our conversation that we started yesterday on how a sexless marriage can lead to infidelity. But let's just be clear. We want to be 100% transparent and clear with you all that we are not saying that a sexless marriage gives the person the right, the authority, the green light to go ahead and be unfaithful and to commit adultery. That is not what we're saying. What we are saying is that we understand how it can create such a major disconnect in the relationship and get people to the point where they feel like they don't have any other choice but to step out to try to get sex from someplace else. So you already know, we're talking about sex. You know, I'm in my happy place this morning. This whole no sex thing is not bringing me to my happy place. Like, I don't feel good about that at all, but I understand that this is a real thing. And so instead of us focusing on the what, we're going to focus on the why. What's the why behind why you're having a sexless marriage? So some of the things we talked about yesterday were childbirth. You know, there's a lot of changes that take place within that woman's body and just hormonally and physically. And, you know, she's got a baby pulling on her all the time. There are multiple children in the house with a newborn baby. Roland, you've been there. You're a dad. You already know that it can create some serious chaos in that household.
Absolutely, because now your attention is drawn from one another to drawn to the children, drawn to the little baby. And, you know, everybody wants to, you know, grab on a little baby. And we have to understand that in that moment, in that time, it's a special time and we can't take it for granted. However, if we allow it to affect our sex lives, our marriages, it can cause detrimental damage. But we have to enjoy the moment and not take it for granted.
Oh, Mr. Roland, so you in the hot seat today because guess what? It was the ladies yesterday. Like, we were running it yesterday. So you got all the heat on you today because you got to represent the brotherhood today. Okay. So now you made a good point. You said something about attention. All of the attention is on the newborn baby. Yes. And so that means that you lost some attention. Is that what it means? Is that what I'm hearing, my brother, that you lost a little attention when the newborn baby came along?
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is that is the truth. You know, the attention is shifted. And as men, we have to accept that and realize that. But the good part of that is the fact that we know where the attention is going. The attention is going to our seed, to our offspring. It's not going to another man. It's not going to, you know, your closet or your shoes or your bag, right? It's going to, you know, to our little baby. And so if we mature enough, if we take our rightful places as men, we should have a level of understanding, give the wife a level of grace to understand what's happening and not put so much pressure on them.
And then, after a certain period of time, we circle back around and get it popping again, right? Like we have a little season where we got to go through, have a little drought, but then the rain should come after the drought, right?
Well, that's what we as men pray and hope for, because a lot of times, we go pouting in the corner because first we have to deal with the fact that the attention has been shifted, and then we have to wait for a period of time, which we understand. But then we just want to make sure when that period of time is up, we don't want to pressure you, but we want to remember, hey, listen, you said something about some time. I'm looking at the calendar, I'm checking it twice and making sure. You said 6 to 8 weeks. I want to be on the front end rather than the back end. So, I'm just saying we just got to put things in proper perspective so we all have an understanding of how long this wait time is, and this attention has been shifted. So,
let the church say amen. Well, listen, I'm going to tell you something. You need to be checking in the SOS on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. because I'm going to tell you how to keep it going even in the midst of you not having intercourse. Because there is something called outer course. And I'm going to walk you guys through that, not this week, but next week. So I'm going to educate y'all on some things that you can do when you may be having medical issues and you may have medical concerns, because that's a real thing. We go through changes in life, and sometimes, we can't perform. Sometimes we just can't because we're going through something medically. In addition to that, like I said, with the childbirth thing, that's a real thing. And it does affect women hormonally. Both of you, excuse me, both of you are tired because you got a baby that's waking up around the clock. And so your sleep is interrupted. You're tired. Like it affects a lot of different things. And so it can for sure affect your sex life. And see, now you got your brother here supporting you. What he said, Daddy need to be fed too.
I wasn't saying all of that. I was just saying,
Gonzalez got your back. He got your back. So another reason why we may have a sexless marriage is because of stress, right? Stress is a real thing too. Stress can come from work. Stress can come from home. Stress can also come from a lack of excitement. When you've been in a relationship for several years, many, many years, sometimes the relationship can get a little stale. It can get a little boring because we get comfortable. We settle into our roles. We settle into our schedules. And again, when we have kids that are in the house, they literally kind of take over depending on the age of the children. Once they get older, they're a little bit more removed and kind of doing their own thing. But when they're really young, those elementary school years and middle school years, like you're all hands on deck with these kids, and it can cause a lot of stress. I'm thinking about my own situation. I got a grown college student and he still stressed me out. So children a lot of times will cause stress. And like I said, they're stressed in the home, and we get caught up in all of these things. And we forget that just because we're adults, that we still need to play.
Well, the thing is, in order to keep a fire lit, you have to keep putting logs in, and you have to make sure that it stays lit. Despite everything that's going on around, you make valid points of, what causes stress. Your kids, you're not going to sacrifice your kids to have a little playtime. However, playtime is necessary, so that you won't sacrifice your kids, right? And having your kids at whatever age they are, your kids are going to always be your kids, grown or baby. Your kids are your kids, and you want them to have the attention from the parent as much as possible. But we have to remember that we are still in a relationship. We're still in a marriage, and it still needs attention as well. And you have to give it the attention that it needs.
That's right. And, sometimes we do know that there are couples who get together to create a life with the intent of that life saving, restoring the marriage. And we know that does not work. That adds additional stress, strain. It affects your finances, your health, like I said, your sleep, your schedule, everything. So a baby does come in, and it's going to shake up your world. And so if you're trying to have a child to save a marriage, that is definitely, it's going to do the opposite. Unless you guys are literally fully committed all in, it really can destroy your relationship. So stress, again, that's another thing that can cause us to lead to sexless marriage, because like you said, Roland, you're caught up in that day-to-day hustle, and you're caught up in just trying to stay afloat, just trying to survive. And we forget that we still need to feed that original relationship, right? It was just me and my husband before these kids came along. And so we can never forget about that original relationship. We talked about problems with money yesterday too. Jewel did a really good job of unpacking how finances can affect our sex lives if we're stressed. And that can cause stress too. If we're stressed out about money, or we're not on the same page with money, that can affect us sexually because we're not on the same page. We're experiencing a disconnect, and we're arguing or we're fighting about finances. One is not meeting the other's expectations. There's disappointment because we're not in alignment. And you start talking about bags and shoes, but you know what? Y'all buy suits, you buy shoes, y'all buy stuff too. Now you saw that new tie, you saw that new button up, whatever. So y'all spend too on your clothes and different things. Maybe you like your little gadgets, your little technology, trying to get that hot new watch. So don't put it all on us.
Well, no. The fact of the matter is, no, men do stress out as well over the finances, which can cause issues in the marriage as well. When we're trying to figure out how we're going to move, rob Peter to pay Paul, and make sure that everything gets taken care of, because it is our responsibility. And so we do have that. And statistics say that men don't spend as much as women. Okay, so yes, while we do have our gadgets, and I am a dresser, so I do have my things, but I do understand over time the maturity level has set in to put priority where they belong and put first things first. So when we have that understanding, and when we're able to maximize our communication in the relationship and maximize the agenda of the relationship, it makes it that much easier. And the stress level can come down when we are in alignment, to your point, and on the same page.
Yes, for sure. For sure. We didn't get to this yesterday, Roland, but trauma has a major effect on our sex lives. I remember us talking about, I think we were, excuse me, we were at a Last Chance weekend. And I remember there was a couple that, when they were in full disclosure, the wife had never revealed to her husband that she had been sexually assaulted. She had never told her husband that, and they were having such major issues with sex, and he couldn't understand what was going on. But it's because she had trauma from her past that had not been resolved, that she had not healed. She had not even spoke about it to her husband, and it created such huge disconnect between the two of them. And that can happen on the opposite side too. Men get molested, men get raped, men get abused sexually as well. You guys just don't speak up about it as often as women do. And we get to this place where we just push it down. We don't want to think about it. We don't want to deal with it. And we just go on with our lives thinking that we're good. But then it comes up in these unexpected ways, and you have no clue, like, why am I standing in the middle of the grocery store sobbing out of control? Because that trauma is resurfacing. And now you have to figure out a way to deal with that and manage that within your marriage. And your spouse never even knew that it happened to you.
If it was a real life illustration of what you just talked about, is sweeping the issue under the rug. The rug is still there. The issue is still there. It's just being suppressed, right?
Yes.
And that's what happens. So many individuals suppress what has happened, the trauma that has happened, because of guilt, because of shame, because of feeling like they didn't do the right thing, because they didn't say anything, and it does show up in other areas. You think that you have put it to bed, you've put it to rest, but in the back of your mind, it still comes up. This is how I feel when. This is how you made me feel when. And I didn't even have anything to do with it. I wasn't even aware of it. And so that's when the intimacy of marriage comes in. That's when the communication comes in. And where we think that it's going to be the demise of our marriage, it actually is the thing to bring couples closer together. because now you have shared the vulnerability, the most vulnerable thing about you to your spouse that will bring you all closer together. And that's what marriage is about. Marriage is about being able to build and have strong relationships between husband and wife to the point that I'm able to share anything with my spouse and not feel judged, not feel, ashamed, not feel some kind of way. And we have to go back. We have to circle back. If we circle back with material things, if we could circle back about things that really don't matter, we should be able to circle back about some things that really will affect both of us and be able to address those.
Absolutely, 100% agree with you, Roland. And again, that communication is everything. And you should be able to share with your spouse everything, right? Your deepest, darkest secrets. I mean, you are giving all of you to your spouse. And so they should know what's going on with you. They should know about your past traumas and hurts. And these are things that we should address, hopefully, before we even get married. But if we don't, definitely, as soon as possible, let our spouses know that, hey, this is the reason why, I haven't been as open sexually, or why I respond a certain way to your touch, like, because the spouse internalizes that and they feel like it's about them. It's something they did wrong, or that's something that they're not doing right. And so it's our job to communicate to our spouses, what's going on with us, past hurts, traumas, and even traumas that come up within the relationship, like infidelity, that will affect your marriage relationship. So we'll dig a little deeper on that one when we come back from the break, but we're going to take a quick commercial break. You guys are watching the Couples Academy show. Stay tuned.
When 45 men from all walks of life come together in one place for one purpose, there is a collective harmony that produces an amplification of power that leaves an impact on the lives of men that cannot be erased. A fraternity of legendary men, all at the tipping point, on the precipice of greatness, meeting for one weekend to turn their worlds inside out. For the first time ever, the Foundry experience. Not an event, not a seminar or retreat, but an opportunity to come face to face with the man you were always destined to be. If you want a life that's better than the one that you are living, meet us January 2023 for the Foundry experience.
Hello. We're back. You are watching the Couples Academy show. We are talking about how sexless marriages can lead to infidelity. We were talking about trauma and the effect of that on the marriage, on your relationship prior to the break. And so just want to dig a little deeper in that as it pertains to infidelity. And so when you have experienced infidelity in your relationship, obviously it's going to fall apart. Everything as you knew it before is no more. Everything is being questioned. Um, you're just in this place of feeling like there's no hope and we'll never recover from this. We'll never be able to rebuild. I'll never be able to trust again. I'll never be able to look at you the same way. And transitioning back into sex after infidelity it can be such a lengthy process because again, when you're having sex with someone, you're intimate with someone, this is the most vulnerable you will ever be. And you don't trust this person anymore. So how can I be vulnerable with you? So it definitely will have an impact on your sex life if there's infidelity. You want to add anything to that, Mr. Rowland?
No, I think for a long time, and now with social media being the highlight of our lifestyle, we fail to realize the damage that it causes when we step outside of our marriage. We think that, oh, I'm just having fun, or I have a need, or I was put in this position. We find all kind of excuses to do what we do, but the aftermath of our decision, every action has a consequence, good or bad, and we don't know what the consequence is going to be, and we definitely don't want to get caught in a bad consequence doing the wrong thing. And we have to realize and understand that sex after infidelity, yes, it is a process. It is trauma on both parties, especially the spouse that has been betrayed, but we can avoid all of that. We can take preventative measures so that won't happen, so we don't have to experience that. We just have to man up. We have to woman up. We have to recommit and be committed to our vows, so that way we don't find ourselves in those positions.
Absolutely, 100%. I agree. I mean, we have control over our penises and our vaginas. We literally do. We control where they go. We control what they receive. I'm saying we're in control of that. And it is a choice that is made to step out. It is a conscious decision that is made. And so instead of turning outward to another body, we need to turn inward to each other and work on what we already have going on, what we've already established, right? So if there's someone out there who's thinking about stepping out on their marriage, or you've already started engaging in inappropriate conversation with someone else and you haven't gone there physically yet, stop now. Reach out, get help. The number keeps popping up on the screen there. Get into some marital or relationship counseling. Let us help you, because there's something that is missing. There's a void. There's something going on inside of you that needs to be handled. It needs to be dealt with. And there may be some unmet needs that you have from your spouse. Let us get in. Let us support you. Let us help you before you end up in infidelity, because I'm telling you, the road to recovery is long. It is tedious. This is not what you want. This is not what you want for your life. So let us help you before you get there.
If we put things, and if we put principle in front of us and understand that infidelity is some gutter stuff, right? Nobody wants you don't want to get dressed up to go to the gutter. You don't want to get fly to go to the gutter, right? We don't want to go to the pig's pen dressed up with our bag, alligator shoes on, custom suit, going to the gutter, right? So if we look at it from that perspective and put that principle in front of us, anytime you step out of your marriage, step out from away from your spouse, you going to the gutter. And you already know that you're going to the gutter. So let's stay away from the gutter mentality.
Yes, absolutely. So, guys, we want to talk a little bit about how the sexless marriage impacts the relationship, right? We're talking about how you get to a sexless marriage. And now we want to talk about how that sexless marriage actually impacts the relationship. So one of the biggest ways that it affects that relationship is through self-esteem. It affects your self-esteem. And so I'm going to talk about it from the women's perspective, and then Roland, you can talk about it from the men's perspective. But as a woman, especially if you are the one who was cheated on, if you are the betrayed, the immediate go-to is I'm not pretty enough, I'm not sexy enough, I'm not satisfying him. There's something that I did wrong. This is my fault. There's something that I did to cause this, which is a lie from the pit of hell. Okay. Like there's nothing you can do that will make your spouse make a decision to cheat. Now, are there things that may have not been done or been done in the marriage that contributed to their desire to turn outward? Absolutely. But there's nothing that you personally have done to force them, make them, you didn't put a gun to their head and make them cheat. But it definitely affects your self-esteem. What about with men, Roland?
To be honest and transparent, men deal with a lot of insecurities, right?
Mm-hmm.
And low self-esteem is one of those insecurities. And so what men do, we find ourselves overcompensating, trying to feel like we still have it or we still demand, right? And so what that does is we become flirtatious, we become, we put ourselves out there or to make ourselves seem available to be down for whatever. But low self-esteem resides in men when you don't know who you are, when you're not confident about who you are, and not having sex at home results into having low self-esteem for men, right? And so now we need attention elsewhere. We're seeking for attention elsewhere. We try to do all of these things to make it seem like, how you doing? I'm good. I'm okay. But in all actuality, I'm hurt. I'm broken. I'm not the man that I want to be. I don't have the job that I desire to have. Now we start comparing ourselves to somebody else, and it puts us in a position to feel as if we're not worthy. So we stack low self-esteem, and then we put, judgments on it, to justifications on it, to say why we have low self-esteem, to justify why we do what we do. But we have to understand that not doing the work at home or not having activity at home can cause low self-esteem, which causes infidelity.
Absolutely, Roland. Wow, powerful point. Also, I understand that men can see their wife's lack of attention sexually and intimacy as a sign of her lack of desire for him, which in turn lowers his self-esteem. And also, if a man is constantly initiating and the wife continues to reject, that also will put you guys in a place where, your self-esteem is affected. And that's true of women as well. When you stop initiating, because we're used to being pursued, right? So when you stop initiating with us, that makes us also feel like you don't desire us, and that affects our self-esteem as well. So it actually goes both ways. I want to talk about how men have a strong need to feel like the man. And you have this strong need and desire to feel like the king in your castle, to be the head of your household, and you want to lead. And because sex truly is energy for men, which we talked about, you joined me on my show and we talked about how sex is energy for men. If they're not getting that sex at home, then a lot of times it makes them feel like a failure. Do you find that to be true?
It absolutely does. Listen, I want to feel like king at home. So when I go out, anybody that comes to me, they're only giving me confirmation for what my queen has already told me. It shouldn't be I feel kingless when I leave home, and outside everybody makes me feel like a king. Everybody's calling my name. Everybody sees me. But I'm not being seen at home. And so what happens is that's when it becomes the slippery slope, because now, I'm being seen in a way outside of the home that I'm not being seen at home. The lady is whispering in my ear, telling me everything that I want to hear. And at home, I'm not being told anything. And there's a plethora of reasons as to why that can be. However, again, we have to take out the time to make sure that we're having communications at home. So nothing outside can affect anything that's going on at home. But I will feel like a failure if I'm being rejected at home. I'm being told no all the time at home, it has to be at certain times of the day. It has to be at certain hours. It has to be, there's so many restrictions on it. See, we put restrictions on it at home, but then that's why men go to pornography. That's why they go to magazines. That's why they go to the internet. There are no restrictions. Nobody's not talking back to me. Nobody's not looking at me side-eye. Nobody's not telling me no, right? That's what it's perceived to look like.
Right.
But even with that, there are dangers into pornography. There's things because then you get caught up into an image of a thing when you have the real thing at home.
Well, it's a fantasy. It's a fantasy, and it's not real life. In addition to that, though, Roland, what about if you're being put down all the time at home? Let's talk about that as well, because, again, you're saying that you want to be affirmed at home. And I say this all the time. Men need 4 things. Number 1 thing is respect. And you need to be valued, you need to be affirmed, and you need to be appreciated. So if you're at home and you're not being respected, number 1, that's a major turnoff for a man to not get that respect. And then you're not getting affirmed. You don't feel valued. You don't feel appreciated. I'm just here to bring home a check, or I'm just here to fill space, or whatever it is. If you're feeling that way, then of course that will cause you to look elsewhere for that validation and for that fulfillment. We know that's not the right thing to do, but we completely understand how it can happen. And so men are also about wins and losses too, right? You guys need wins. And if you feeling as if you're not getting no sex at home, I'm losing. And if I'm losing, then I'm a failure.
Now, I want to play devil's advocate just a very little bit in this point, right? Because men have a tendency to be men in physical form, but be boy-like in attitude and in pursuit, right? So yes, we do need affirmation at home. We do need respect at home. We do need to feel valued at home. However, men need to show up as well. Men need to show up respecting their wives, valuing their wives, making their wives be seen, affirming our wives, right? In order to receive that respect and affirmation as well. It's a two-way street, right?
Yes.
And while men, we do need it a little bit more than women at times, right? Because women want, if you get dressed up and we're going out, I need to be able to compliment you to say, I see you, right? But the men need the same thing, babe, I see, and sometimes it could be the smallest thing. Babe, I see you taking out that trash. I know that's your responsibility, but I appreciate you because if you wasn't here, right, that trash will be overflowing. We take things for granted until it's not there. The old folks say, you don't miss your water till the well runs dry. And that's a real thing. We talk about it all the time. If everybody just stopped going to a particular store for a day, that store is going to be affected. If my wife doesn't show up for a day, the household is going to be affected. If the man does not show up for a day, the household is going to be affected. We don't want one day to turn into a week, into a month, into a month, into a year, when we can do something about it. So it works both ways.
And we have control over that. And I appreciate you saying that because reality is this. It's reciprocal, right?
Yes.
It's reciprocal. And this is the challenge that we get into, especially when there's been trauma or there's disconnect, or like you said, there's been long-term issues with communication, connection, intimacy, whatever. We get to this place where, well, when you do this, I'll do that. Well, when you do that, I'll do this. And so then what happens? No one wins in that scenario, right? So when we talk about love languages and how people need to be served, well, if I'm loving my husband in his love language and he's loving me in my love language, aren't we both being fed?
Right.
And that's the thought process that a lot of times we don't have. So again, it's cyclical. It's cyclical, right? So I'm going to give you respect. I'm going to affirm you. I'm going to appreciate you. I'm going to value you. In the same vein, husband, you are going to love me. You're going to make me feel safe. You're going to make me feel secure. And you're going to make me feel supported. So as I'm pouring into you and you're pouring into me, we're both getting full. But where we mess up is when I'm waiting on you to do what you're supposed to do. And I'm not going to do what I'm supposed to do till you do what you do. And if we both adopt that mentality, then we both over here starving. And that's where it goes wrong.
Absolutely. And if we go back to the original day of our vows and we look at our rings, there's a circle. There's no break in your ring. The ring you wear on your finger, there's no break in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like to your point, when we're reciprocating the same thing to one another, we are the water continues to flow. There's no
Yes.
break in it. There's no
Mhm.
dam in between us. The dam comes when we put damaging things in between us,
That's
right?
it.
So if we
That's
keep
it.
doing what we need to do for one another, everything will be all right.
Absolutely. And again, when there is a sexless marriage, it's for a reason.
Mhm.
This is not something that people just wake up one day and say, "Hey, I want to stop having sex with you." It's for a reason. And like I said, we a lot of times we're focused on the what, but we really need to be focused on the why. There are people who sign in here every single day and dropping these comments in here about what my husband is not doing and what my wife is not doing. Have you stopped? Have you looked in the mirror at you? Have you looked at your contribution or lack thereof in the
Mhm.
relationship while you are pointing the finger at your spouse? Because
Mhm.
I'm telling you, none of us are perfect. None of us are without sin. None of us are without flaws. We're all in this life trying to be the best versions of ourselves we can be. At least we should be trying to
Mhm.
be the best versions of ourselves that we can be. And so that means I can't spend my time and energy looking at what my husband is doing or not doing, because then it takes the focus and the attention off of me and my job, my role, my responsibility, and my assignment. So,
Mhm.
have you stopped and looked in the mirror? Have you asked yourself, what have I done or not done? What have I said or not said that contributed to the current status of my relationship? So
Mhm.
before you drop another comment in here, bashing your spouse, talking about what they're not doing, men and women,
Mhm.
look at yourself. Before you put a comment, why don't you go ahead and talk about what you haven't done?
Mhm.
Drop your comment. Out yourself before you out your spouse. How about that? How
Wow.
about you say, for me, I'll say I was rude, I was disrespectful, I had a pop off spirit. And that's why I wasn't getting the love that I desired from my husband, because I was disrespectful.
Mhm.
And this is biblical.
Mhm.
Husbands, love your wives. Wives, respect your husbands.
Mhm.
So the minute I started disrespecting my husband, his love for me decreased. So
Mhm.
what I'm saying is, before you come up in here, we love y'all with the love of the Lord. Before you roll up in here bashing your spouse, out yourself first before you out your spouse. How about that? So we
You,
can help both of you.
I listen. I have you. You've said it all. You've said it all. We have to start looking at the man and the woman in the mirror and start with ourselves first. You want a better marriage? Start with you. Period. You want a better lifestyle? Start with you. You want a better sex life? Start with you. And stop withholding. Stop trying to make excuses. Stop trying to justify. Start with you. And know you do what you can do. You don't know
That's,
what you don't know, but do what you can do.
that's right. And what you don't know, call us so we can help you.
So we can help you.
You guys, you have been watching the Couples Academy show. We are so thankful for you guys to be here. And just know, when we're talking to you, it's coming from a place of love. We want you guys to have a life in abundance and joy and peace and prosperity, and most importantly, good sex. So I'm saying to you, make sure that when you're listening to us, you understand it's personal for us. This is ministry for us. We
Mhm.
love you. We care about you guys. And we want you to have happy marriages, successful marriages, thriving marriages, kingdom marriages. So thank you for watching. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. What's happening tomorrow, Ron?
Ask the experts.
Ask the experts. So you have questions, burning hot questions. We didn't get to any questions today. Bring those questions back tomorrow so we can get those answered for you guys. All right. So thank you so much. You guys have a wonderful day, and hopefully we'll see you tomorrow.